I'm back, and so are you. And I want to talk about this, but first of all, I want to talk about us, you, me, us, right? Hang on a second. I just want to click this thing. Okay, can I do that? Yay! There we go. All right, everything seems to be working. I don't know why. Let us pause for a moment and celebrate, shall we? That everything seems to be working. All right, here we are. Yesterday, I got in my car, in my swooshy, fabulous car, and I drove back there. And all the way I was driving, I was thinking, this is my first trip in this swooshy new car, and everything is different. I've had swooshy new cars before, not for a while, um, and I found myself really paying attention to all the things that were different. I found myself really focused on the car, the sensation on the road, everything around me was different because I was in a swooshy new car as opposed to the venerable ancient car. Good morning, Freddie. How nice to see you. How nice to see you. Um, and so I was really paying attention to the car and to the driving experience because it's new. Now I've had the car for a little while, not that long, not even a whole month yet. And so every time I take it out, there's something new I discover. There's a lot of electronics on it that cause it to do things that kind of sneak up on me or don't sneak up, and they kind of go boo. And so while the driving experience is lovely, it's also a little alarming. There's two little lights, one on either side, just inside where the rear view mirrors are, little teeny weeny lights. And they come on when a vehicle is near you, going by you, or going by you, and it has this low boop, boop sound. So if you don't have the radio on, you're driving along, you're looking this way, you're not looking over here, you're looking this way, and all of a sudden, boop is a very unnerving. Even though I know that's what it does, my thoughts weren't there. My thoughts were here and here and here. And then when I got to my destination, my goal yesterday, my plan yesterday was to see people I haven't seen in a while and reconnect and catch up and kind of get back in step with them. Um, One of the people that I met with, I haven't really spent any time with significantly since COVID. And in the wake of COVID, all of a sudden my friend got so sick, I didn't really allow myself the time to focus on anything else, anyone else, not my work, not anything. I mean, the only housework I did was laundry, because there's only so many times you can wear the same clothes. But everything else, I just said I'll get to later. This other thing is more important. And and so when I was reconnecting with her and we were comparing notes and how have you been, and the first thing when we sat down and we'd already said, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you, and a big hug and all that. She said, okay, I want to hear how you are and I want to hear what happened. And I said, well, before I tell you all that, I want to hear how you are and what's been happening. And she kind of blinked and I said, listen, I drove all this way to see you, to talk to you, to find out how you are. So I'm not going to lead with me. It's your time. And she said, oh, okay. And so we did that. We backed and forth and we talked about it, and I asked questions and she told me things. And so our conversation did that wonderful thing that conversations do when two people are listening to each other, when they're not caught up in their own head, when they're not scrolling on their phone, when they're not obsessing about their own thing and giving lip service to the conversation they're having, right? And it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. And I said, we need to do this more often. We've never done this. And she said, I know, we just get caught up in things. And And I was thinking about people are washing windows outside, bang. Um, and I was thinking about the way I had felt when I was driving, that I'm normally so caught up in thinking about the things I'm going to be doing when I get to where I'm going. And I'm so comfortable in this vehicle that I've been using, running, driving for years. I'm not focusing on the car. I'm not listening to its little squeaks and bumps and rumbles, unless it's all of a sudden very loud and crazy, because I'm all caught up in me, and I'm all caught up in the loop that's going on in my head. And I'm not really experiencing the drive the way I could be. And I thought, well, there's the theme. There's the theme for the video that we're doing now, is how we get accustomed to, I hate to say same old, but we get accustomed to the thing that's familiar, and we love it because familiarity allows us to just let things go kind of on autopilot. But the loss we experience that we don't realize is that we're not really present when we're on autopilot. Most of our brain is someplace else. We've left it to our 2 million-year-old brain to do the driving, to do the listening for the the boop, and so anytime I've seen this lovely friend of mine, she's been working. She runs a restaurant, so when I go to see her, I go to see her at work, and I sit in her section, and she serves me, and she'll come and tell me, "Oh my God, that just happened," and don't pay no attention to the smoke coming out of the kitchen, and all those things. And then when she has a chance, she says, "Seriously, how are you? I've got like 5 seconds," and I tell her, and I know that that's what I'm buying into when I go there. I know those are the terms. So here was what I wanted to talk about today, is how often we do that and rob ourselves of an opportunity to really engage, to really connect in a not and I'm not saying Mother Teresa, give. I'm not doing that at all. I'm a Viking. Vikings don't do that. What I'm saying is, the more you focus on it, the more you pay attention, the more you get out of it. You're present for it. You experience everything firsthand, live and in color. Um, and then on the drive home, in this swooshy new car, all these electronics. One of the things this car knows how to do. I'm, I'm I'm barely figuring this out. And this car that I just met less than a month ago has figured out how to hook itself up to my phone. So when somebody calls my phone when I'm driving, I don't have to be disconnected or do anything or distracted. I just push a button, and the car becomes my speaker, my receiver, my translator, my transmitter. First time ever. It was it's phone ringing, and it says so and so calling, and there's a button with a phone, old fashioned phone, and it was green, and I went boop, and I said hello, and then I turned the volume hello, and I had this conversation. I thought, wow. So I'm driving, and I'm still in awe of this vehicle. So I'm not dismissing, and there's cars and there's things and there's little sound effects going boop. But I'm also able to listen to this conversation. And this lovely, lovely friend of mine, whom I have not spoken to in too long. He said, I was thinking about you, and I thought this might be a good time to talk. And I said, it is a brilliant time to talk. I'm in the car. I'm driving. I'm not distracted. Tell me all the news that's fit to print. And we started talking about lots of things, because I've known him a very long time. I've known him. He's one of my surrogate fame kids, right? He's in here. There's a chapter on him, and he's the one who says about fame, if you're chasing it, you're doing it wrong. And so we're talking, and he's had a couple of significant reversals lately. And early on in life, he had a significant, an even more significant, a huge thing he had to deal with. And he did. He found a way to deal with it. He became resilient. He became resourceful. He became creative. He became sardonic. Um, and he developed within himself different ways to address his pretty much ongoing crisis. And part of figuring that out was figuring out how to communicate with people who couldn't possibly have the faintest idea what was going on with him. Not in a million years, and certainly not as the years went by. The new people in his life could never have known that this still is alive and well. Because when we suffer any kind of significant trauma, stress, crisis, we carry it with us. We don't carry it front and center. It's not a sticker on our forehead unless we want it to be. Unless we want to live shadow lives and just everything is focused on that thing that happened back then. But we do carry it with us, and it does shape and inform the way we connect with people. For instance, Freddie Moore is with me this morning, and Freddie and I and Chris, his friend, had an incredible series of conversations that are going to be part of the Pivot Tree book series, because Freddie and his buddy Chris went through extraordinary challenges, and to this day still have to deal with them, roll with them, allow for them, commit to them. And so when we don't know that, we have no way of saying, oh, well, they're dealing with that, because we don't walk around with a sign saying recently this or currently that. We carry on. And so there's no way in the world that other people could possibly know unless we tell them. And more importantly, and that's what today's video is about, based on my thinking yesterday and my going over it in my head this morning. It's not just us, right? It's not just us walking along, driving along, floating along, preoccupied by that thing that is either looming large or sitting on our shoulder or packed away in a later folder, that still nevertheless informs every decision, every thought, every emotion that we experience, because it's part of who we are. Okay, we do that. So does everyone else. If we are preoccupied, if I am preoccupied by boop, how about every other driver on the road driving one of these swooshy new vehicles? What if everybody on the road is going, wait, what? Every few seconds. Rush hour traffic. Every time some car goes by me on the 3 lanes of the highway in Ottawa at rush hour traffic, my car is going boop, 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 boop. And I'm saying to myself, I got to find the volume button on that thing. Now I know it's there to let me know. The thing is, if it's letting me know, I can get lazy. I typically, I learned to drive on a motorcycle when I was in Europe, and I took a transport driver training truck. You know what you do? Check your mirrors all the time. Why? Well, I don't know, dead, mangled. So, you look in, the whole time you're driving, you're supposed to look in 4 places, mostly this way. Just saying. But the other 3 are that mirror, and that mirror up there that shows you that at the back. And if you get into the natural habit of it, it's spontaneous. It becomes your normal subconscious 2 million year old brain checking the desert, checking the jungle, checking who's sneaking up on you at the watering hole, right? So forward, left, right, reverse. Okay. If I don't have to do that because something's going boop, all I have to do is figure out which light is flashing. No, I'd like to know the size of the thing that is looming large. I'd like to know if it's a smart car or a Peterbilt. Peterbilt, for those who don't know, is a truck? I'd like to know. Or worse, what if it's a double decker? Like what if it's a car hauler? It's this. There's a parking lot passing you on the inside. What if it's one of those double train trucks? This trailer is 53 feet and that trailer is 53 feet. So we just, 3 and 3 is 6. Okay, 5 and 5 is 10. So, oh my God, not to mention the cab in front. I'd like to know. Just, for the sake of knowing. Not boop, but oh my God. What? I want to know these things. I want to be present and accounted for. And I realized yesterday and thought about it most of the evening and woke up thinking about it this morning, that we increasingly are creating tools that allow us to get lazy about this. We have a cell phone, and ping, and this happened at a beautiful restaurant that my gorgeous, beautiful, talented friend Christine Shaken took me to. And here we are sitting there, and it's lovely. Behind her, there was a couple, and he was telling her everything about whatever had happened. And she's going, She's on her phone. She's on a date. Put the phone in your purse. What could possibly be so important that you're not paying attention to this guy pouring out his soul to you? What? Really? Really? There's a ping because what? Oh, look, it's a cute meme. Are you serious? So this, I think, is a contribution to why we're feeling unheard, why we're feeling unseen, why we're feeling undervalued and disrespected. It's because people aren't paying attention in the moment. We are thinking it's all about us, flower in the face, poor me. And we're not focusing on the person we decided to spend time with. If I'm home alone and there's nobody impinging on anything, you know what? I can think about me all the time. Fascinating subject that it is. But when I'm out with people, when I'm walking on the street, when I'm driving my car, when I've gone to the trouble to book some time with someone, to spend time with someone, I could maybe shut down my loop tape for a few minutes, right? If they're distracted, maybe they could shut theirs down. I was thinking it would be really funny the next time I'm somewhere and somebody pulls that on me. I was thinking it would be really funny to get up in the middle of them not really paying attention, just get up. And they might be surprised and say, where are you going? I would say, well, I can see that you're very busy and I don't want to get in between the two of you. And grab my purse. What do you mean, what two? Well, you and whoever is talking in your ear, your loop tape. I don't like to be the third wheel. And just leave. See what happens. How cool would that be? So what I was talking about yesterday with my lovely friend, my lovely pal, my lovely surrogate kid, my famous son, was his crisis. His suddenly out of nowhere, an oven crisis. And the struggle it was all by itself. Add nothing to the conversation. The struggle alone. Big, huge. Okay. And then dealing with people who can't begin to imagine, cannot begin to imagine what it is, what it's like, how heavy, how cumbersome, how terrifying. Even if they try, if they've never been there, they can't know. And the challenge that he faces when they offer uninformed, well-meaning advice that has zero value. When they offer criticism of the way he's coping. In both cases, usually, typically, unsolicited. I have another brilliant friend. She's my tech guru, my marketing tech guru, and she has a chronic injury. And there are days when it is debilitating because, as we all experience, some days are great and other days, assorted little thingamabobs and whoozy what's its in our bodies malfunction slightly, and they scrape up against each other, and you suddenly feel a twinge here and an ow there, and a distraction someplace else. The chronic sufferer has it constantly, and there are times when it flares up, and it's awful. And she and I will be having one of our planning sessions, and she'll say, "Darling, I got to go. I'm sorry, I'm taking notes, but I've got to go. I'm having a flare up and I can't focus. I simply can't focus. And I'm so sorry. We planned this and we're only halfway through it. I'll make it up to you." And I say, "Oh, okay, shut up. No, no, no. You having a flare up? The flare up right now is taking center stage. Go do your thing. You be you, and we will continue. This is not life threatening what you and I are talking about. What you are experiencing is sanity threatening, is functioning threatening. So go, fly, be free." And I hang up. And at no time when I've said that, after I've hung up, do I have, the least she could do. Because if she says, "I can't even see straight," her pain is off the charts, her whatever is off the charts. And you have to respect that. You have to be listening, though, to hear what they're saying. Sometimes she doesn't say anything, but she'll reply to me, and the answer is a bit off. It's a bit distracted, and I'll say, "Are you all right? You sound like you're only 80% here. Are you okay?" I'm not saying you sound like you're only 80% here. What, am I not important to you? No. And she'll say, "Oh God, how do you know these things?" She says, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay. But thank you for the heads up, because I was letting myself coast a bit." We don't do this. We don't have those reset conversations with ourselves, with each other. We don't go to lunch or get together for coffee or decide to spend an afternoon together just, throwing out old clothes together and say, "Okay, come clean. What's going on? You don't look okay. You don't sound like you're here. What's happening? What's on your mind?" We don't have those conversations enough of the time. We just have the conversation with ourselves. "Well, she doesn't seem to be having I don't know why why am I here?" Okay, we do it too. So part of my conversation yesterday, one part that was very funny with the first friend who had been trying to help me rent something for the celebration of life at the end of the month. And we had both forgotten, she and I, that this is a very big deal the end of this month in this other province. It is the biggest holiday that they celebrate all year. It's massive. And this year, the day itself is Saturday, the 24th. So that means that the 23rd, Friday, and the Saturday, and the Sunday, and the Monday are a weekend of total focus on this event. Not only that, but this year in that province, school is out. The final day of school is Friday. So everybody is completely preoccupied with, yay, freedom. And they're preoccupied all through the week. And everybody is planning a party. Everybody's planning a barbecue. Everybody's planning a congratulations and a let's start our vacation, and the parties for this massive event. And oh yeah, by the way, June, there'd be weddings, wouldn't there? So anything you might have wanted to rent for an event, you probably needed to book 6 years ago. I don't know. So when my friend called, and she was getting people saying, are Are you serious? Are you seriously asking? And my friend is saying, well, yes, I'm calling to find out blah, blah. And she was getting these irate, frenzied, frazzled responses from people who had completely forgotten that every new call is a new caller. They're not having a continuing conversation every time the phone rings, but they are still living their loop tape. Their loop tape is, why did I take just this job in the first place? This is the worst weekend of my year every year. Why don't I just go and become a librarian where everybody's quiet? They aren't actually engaged, and they haven't been engaged for weeks because the phones have been ringing off the hook. The emails have been flooding in. People have not been very sympathetic or understanding. What do you mean I can't, blah, blah? I've given you people so much business over the, I should think all of that, all of that. And they're not alone. They don't live alone on an island, right? They're surrounded by the same ripples of toxicity from everybody they're working with. And then when they go home, if they don't have a later folder to write it all down and leave it in the car, they carry all that crap into the house with them. And everybody in the house does the same thing. It would have been a shock and a surprise if my friend had had a conversation where the person said, well, how wonderful to hear from you. And how can I help you? That didn't happen. So when she sat down with me and after we'd hugged and I said, tell me about you. And she said, okay, so this. And she kept reverting back to it because the shock to her. What did I do? I just placed a call. This is customer service. I'm sorry, excuse me. And I said, well, in fairness, these people are juggling flaming chainsaws. And theoretically, you and I should both have known that the circus was in town. And she's, I know. How could we both not remember that? So we had a full-on connection at the same level, laughing at our distraction and theirs. And the reason we were able to laugh is because I had connected with the second person that I had gone there to see. The person who said, oh, I can help you with that. You can? Yeah, I actually have those things you need. I'll lend them to you. What? Oh my, you've saved my life. You've saved me. You've saved the whole event. And she said, oh, please, I love you. I want to help. It's nothing. And do you want me to bring them over? Yes, sure, no problem. What's the address? So when I met with her after the first conversation, the first lovely meeting, I told her what had happened. And she said, oh my God, you poor guys. I wish you'd called me sooner. And I said, so do we. So do we. And so we had a wonderful reset, a wonderful centering conversation, a wonderful reconnecting about our common goals and our mutual caring for each other as valued friends. And both meetings, at the end of both meetings, it was a great hug. It was, gosh, I've missed you. We need to do this again. And we need to not just say this. We need to make it happen. And we all agreed, yes, we do. And yes, let's write it down. Let's plan it now. Let's make it happen. And we did. Because who we love, who love us back, deserve our best, deserve our full attention. And the same is true for them when they are allowing themselves to be distracted. If they care about me as I care about them, they have to remind themselves that I matter. In the moment we are together, we need to be together in the moment. Otherwise, why bother? Otherwise, stay home. Stay in bed. No, stay under the bed. That way nothing can ever happen. You won't get dislodged from your stalling loop tape. You can just live in that past moment, live a shadow existence. Nothing new can surprise you unless it looms out of nowhere and you weren't listening. Ta-da! Oh. We have the ability to retain control of who we are and what matters. We have that. All kinds of technology that we can acquire that can take care of the little things. Great. And it's tempting to let them take care of the big things. There's a machine people have in their homes. They call it by name, and they ask it to turn the lights on when we're sitting beside the lamp. Turn the lights on. Or, click. Pretty soon we won't have any arms or legs. We won't need to do anything. Somebody carry me. Nobody's listening, so we'll sit here. Oh, well, I guess this is okay. Really? So the conversation today is not merely that we need a wake-up call, that we need to have our own boop to remind us to stay present, to check our mirrors, to figure out what is looming large. It's not merely that. We have to remind ourselves that when we feel slighted and we feel as though people aren't showing us the time, the attention, the respect, the affection, the generosity, the kindness that our relationship deserves, they could be coasting too. If we do it, then they do it too. It's criminal the way people are just not showing up anymore, says everybody right now. A friend of mine said, that whole thing about ever since this event, nobody's leaning in and doing a decent job, that's bunk. What do you mean? He said, I have been a fan for 30 years of this construction guy in Canada. His name is Mike Holmes. And Mike Holmes is a general contractor. And he was called in to fix the shoddy work previous people had done, previous people who had charged an arm and a leg and the firstborn to clients who didn't know any better and left the homes unsafe. Mike would go in, and he was offended personally that people had wasted their hard-earned money and had their dreams shattered by people who just didn't care and were doing lip service. And he made a career out of it. He became a television icon. Homes on Homes. He was involved in the rebuild after Katrina down in New Orleans. I mean, he cares deeply that if you're going to say you're going to show up, you show up. And if you don't know how to show up, you need to say that too, so that people don't have false expectations. They don't depend on something that's just never going to come true. I was listening to my friend and I said, you're absolutely right. All that's happened because of the recent crisis, the health crisis, the global crisis, is that it gave people an anchor point. Ever since the time the creek flooded, we ain't never had good grass grow out back. Well, we've never had good grass grow out back, actually. Not ever. I remember my grandfather saying that, and his grandfather saying that. It's become legend in our family that the grass has never grown well out back near the creek. Why? I wonder why. Oh, I don't know. The roots drown. And so if we are going to live with our total focus on our loop tape, two sad things are going to happen. The first one is that we will never feel fully satisfied by anything. And the second is we will never experience the wonder and the magic and the excitement of something new. because we will have chosen to stay there. Like the story I told of the lobster and how it grows. Lobsters outgrow their shell. They can either stay the same size or they can leave the shell and grow a new one that's bigger, that allows them to say, ooh, I can see my house from here. This book that I wrote a long time ago, that I took away from the publisher who didn't want to follow through, who didn't want to finish the job. Market Centrics is a business book. And in it, I reference all the people who did something really quite extraordinary. And that's why their businesses and their careers and their lives have just shot into the stratosphere. Okay. And my subtitle, so Market Centrics, when your strategy is all about them, success belongs to you. And one of the analogies I give on the inside flap is that if you invite somebody to your house and you know that they love hot chocolate, and you know that they absolutely just crave a certain brand of hot chocolate, do you go and make sure that the store carries it? And do you buy some and get it ready and serve something with it? Or do you say, you know what, I feel like tea today. And you make tea. And when the friend comes over, they say, oh my gosh, I hope you have my hot chocolate. And you say, oh no, I made mint tea. Did you bump your head this morning? What kind of respect is that to show a friend? You can have mint tea all day, all night, Marianne, when you're alone. Do that for you on your time. You invited your friend over. You said, you're my friend, you're special. And then they show up and you hit them in the face with tea. Why would you do that? Why would you start a business and say you're open from 10 until 3 and then not open until 11:30? And your loyal customers show up at 10 and you're not there. And tomorrow, when you have a note, you say, tomorrow 11:30, and they show up at 11:30 and you've been open since 9. And you're about to go on lunch because you've been there for almost 3 hours. What are you doing? The most important person, if you are in business, is your customer. Why? Oh yeah, that's an interesting thing. I talk about that in the book too. Most businesses focus on the competition. They angle all their marketing, they angle their pricing, they angle their branding to be competitive, to be able to outdo or preempt what the competition is doing. Their entire focus is the other guy who's in the same business as they are. You know how stupid that is? Let me ask you, who is the only person who's going to keep your business up and running? It's not your competition, it's your customer. So rather than finding out all the time, forever and ever, what your competition is doing, you might want to ask the customers, how are you doing? What's happening? How are the kids? How's the dog? Oh no, I'm so sorry. You look great in that color. We have something in that color. Do you want to see it? How many stores do you go into and people talk like that? How many stores do you go into and there's some sales associate? They're associated with sales. They're not actually in sales. They're standing next to sales because what they're in is their phone. Hi, could someone serve me? It's not my section. Wow, what a great job. You get paid to scroll your phone. No, I don't. Really? What do you get paid to do? Well, I'm a sales associate. I get paid to sell. Oh, then did you want to sell to me? Viking therapy. Boof. Why would you show up to work and not work? Why would you show up in a store and say, why do I have to dust the shelves? Here's the thing. If the shelves are dusty, so are the clothes or the other things that you're selling. You think a customer who picks it up and goes, oh, is going to buy it? If they don't buy it, I'm sorry, are you on commission? And you're not making sure the stuff is clean and fabulous looking? Big mistake, huge. You're not there to take their money when they're done. You're there to make them feel like the most important person in the room. Because, by the way, that's exactly who they are. And when we, not just the sales associate, although all business is show business, we are all consumers, we are all selling something to each other all the time. When the customer walks in and they're not really present, they're either on their phone, in which case, how did you manage to navigate walking into the store, looking up, boom, they're not really there to shop. They're there to browse. They're there to fill time until something more interesting comes along. I'm waiting for a call, like that. What are they doing? Why did they even leave the house? I don't know. I was bored, so I decided to go and be bored someplace else. The whole point in my conversation in this video today is this. The present moment is the one we are in. We cannot be in two present moments at the same time. We are either on our phone or we are in the conversation. We are either driving the car or we are spectating and not really paying attention to all the things that are going by. And we get to choose. Every day, we get to choose. We also get to choose to understand that every other person is facing the same choice at the same time. I wanted to tell everybody about my injury, but nobody was listening. Did you ask them about their day? What? Well, no. I mean, I was in an accident. People, nobody cared. Did you ask them how their day was? Did you know that their dog died? What? Well, why didn't they say something? Why didn't you ask? Relationships are a two-way street. Breathing is a two-way street. In followed by out. Connecting is a two-way street. Thriving is a two-way street. Growing is a two-way street. Changing, engaging, succeeding, winning, laughing, being is a two-way street. Sometimes there are unexpected detours, sudden stops and left turns, potholes, but always and forever it's a two-way street. And we are on it together. Isn't that interesting? And because, of course, I never do this without referencing pivotry. When we make a sudden shift, we impact, and I don't mean, we affect everyone around us. When we make a sudden shift, a sudden decision, the ripples affect everyone. When we grow, they react. When we have built the right kind of relationship, when we grow, they grow with us. When we haven't built the right kind of relationship, when we grow, they are afraid and they pull back. None of this is a mystery. All of it is relentlessly logical. Isn't that interesting? I found it fascinating when it all hit me yesterday, last night, and this morning. And that's why I wanted to share it with you, because ours is a two-way relationship too. And I am so grateful that you take the time to spend the time with me every time. So this was Thursday. Thursday. We have another air quality warning. So be safe. Rethink the frivolous things you might be doing. Be careful about you. Particulates in the air are things you can't see, but they can have an impact on your health. And we all care. You're important to us. You matter. We want you to realize that we care about you and act accordingly. So be safe, be careful, act wisely, think well. Okay? And until I see you, have a great weekend. Do fabulous things. Be good to you. You deserve it. And remember to hug your loved ones. What they put up with you. Boy. Thanks for watching. See you soon.